I want to begin with a comment which was left yesterday from a person called Steve Jobs, and he gets quite angry with me and says that how dare you of all speak of tribalism of all things. I'm shocked that your parents actually paid for your spell at Ratcliffe. Ratcliffe moved heaven and earth to show you that there are exactly two sides. Your wets, not Labour, brought down Mrs. Thatcher. Let's call it no fewer than 100 sides to attack you from. Your Manichaeism runs out of steam after two sides. Well, first of all, let me make one thing very clear. Ratcliffe, the school I was at, spelt with a T, not a D. I was I was very lucky to receive a full bursary, and I believe, therefore, I am the embodiment of precisely what the private school system could represent in terms of its charitable status, in terms of its charity. And because my family was in some quite significant difficulty, and I never knew any of this at the time. It was something that I learnt much later, that the school had simply taken it on itself to pay all my fees or to waive all my fees. I don't quite know what the best explanation of this is. But yes, certainly I benefited from an education that was paid for by the school, and I am grateful. But I don't I don't quite understand what all the points in this comment otherwise are supposed to be saying. There is irony in the very breath that condemns binary thinking. The writer appeals to an aggressively tribal taxonomy of his own: Welsh, Quebec, Catholic, Republican city, Thatcherite, a confederacy of identities, as belligerently sided as any crude polarization. But the core of the accusation that I'm guilty of Manichaeism is a reductive worldview of stark dualities, and this I need to refute. Manichaeism, properly understood, was a 3rd century religion founded by Mani in the Sasanian Empire, and it taught a radical cosmological dualism: light versus darkness, good versus evil, spirit versus matter. And its metaphysical claim was that evil is not a privation or a corruption of good, but an eternal co-equal force. And that is where I part ways with the Mani. To believe, as I do, that evil is real, observable, and structurally embedded in systems, judicial, political, or cultural, is not to embrace Manichaeism, Manichaean dualism. I don't hold that evil is metaphysically equal to good, nor that the world is a battlefield between two original co-eternal substances. Augustine, once Manichaean himself, eventually denounced the sect precisely because it removed human agency and accountability, replacing it with fatalism. We are the puppets controlled by these twin godlike adversaries. I believe in good as a primary, evil as a derivative. I'm not a dualist. If I am anything, I would be Aristotelian in this respect, believing in gradations of virtue, in purpose, in telos, and in the capacity of everything for change. I see human failure not as an outworking of an evil demiurge, but as cowardice, neglect, and deliberate obfuscation. Trump, Putin. To criticize corruption, complicity, or institutional failure is not to suggest that the world is divided into pure light and irredeemable dark. It is to suggest rather unfashionably that there is right and there is wrong, and that there are shades of both. And from that point of view, it's one reason why I find the tribalism that emerges on the internet so irritating. To accuse me of Manichaeism for naming injustice, or for being tribal, for refusing to flatter every ideological vanity, is itself a symptom of what it claims to criticize: a paranoid obsession with sides. To quote G.K. Chesterton, the modern world is full of the old Christian virtues gone mad. And here the virtue of pluralism has degenerated into a refusal to say anything definite for fear of sounding partisan. As in the commentator's statement, it says, I'm staunchly with the Welsh, Quebec, Catholic, Republican, City, Thatcherite side, you do rather prove my point. I am not a Manichaean, but nor am I blind. I see injustice where it exists, and I'm not naive enough to claim evil is as powerful as good. But I am, I think, not arrogant enough to deny that evil exists at all. So no, I don't choose sides lightly. I examine principles, I weigh outcomes, and simply because this huge group chooses a particular side doesn't mean that I will. And I've not moved 1 millimetre in 70 years either, not because I cling to an old tribe, but because I still believe in a truth that I was taught as a child. Even when others trade it for convenience or camouflage or titles or awards, it's that truth is stable, and that truth is something on which I think it's possible to base a life, and that is that there is a clear goal, and that it can be confused by what we might want to call evil. Evil gets in the way, but evil is not the absolute winner. And evil was not there at the beginning, and it won't be there at the end.